Beekeeping, also known as apiculture, is the human-led upkeep of bee colonies, typically in hives made of man-made materials. Bees are kept by a beekeeper or apiarist. Approximately 1.2 million people are involved in the apiculture sector in Uganda, leaving the sector untapped. Beekeeping has a huge potential to contribute to Uganda's rural household income and foreign earnings. As many people are aware, honey never expires. It never spoils if it is pure and preserved properly. This makes it the oldest non-perishable food in the world. In addition to having healthy macronutrients, it is also far healthier than refined sugar. When it comes to the diets of majority of Ugandans, honey is not only a source of nutrition but also a source of income for many. Buyers from all around the world have become interested in honey because of its distinctive flavor, which comes from bees feeding on a wide variety of nectars and pollen. There are several types of honeybee within every hive: workers, drones, and the queen. The workers and the queen are female. Queens are reproductive and are larger than the workers. The drones are male, have larger compound eyes, and do not have stingers. This business idea of keeping bees for production of honey and beeswax, its revenue potential is estimated at $10,400 per year. With the project cost of $7,345 and a profit margin of 73%, the expected payback period is in 7 months. The best known primary products of beekeeping are honey and wax, but pollen, propels, royal jelly, venom, queens, bees, and their larvae are also marketable primary bee products. The beauty is that most of these products are consumed without any value added to them. In Uganda, where beekeeping is still a significant seasonal industry in many locations, traditional methods are still in use. Rural residents are knowledgeable about bees, plants, and bee-friendly locations, but when honey is being harvested, hives are frequently destroyed and colonies are frequently destroyed. In the modern method, the honeybees are raised using a mobile artificial hive in the current apiculture approach, and thousands of individuals now have jobs because of this discovery, which has transformed apiculture into a domestic business. Modern method of beekeeping should be the next standard for Uganda's beekeeping sector, to improve on the quantity and destruction caused during harvesting process experienced in the traditional method. The queen's only job is to lay eggs, and the drone's job is to mate with the queen. The worker bees are responsible for everything else: gathering nectar, guarding the hive and honey, caring for the queen and larva, keeping the hive clean, and producing honey. When a honeybee queen suddenly dies, an urgent and unplanned supersedue occurs. Worker honeybees identify several larvae within the proper age range and begin to condition these larvae to become queens. Queen honeybees live an average of 1 to 2 years, whereas workers live an average of 15 to 38 days in the summer and 150 to 200 days in the winter. When it comes to honey production, bees take floral nectar to make honey, which is then converted into simple sugars and stored inside the honeycomb. As a result of the honeycomb structure and the bees' regular wing fanning, sweet liquid honey is produced via evaporation. The nectar that bees gather influences the color and the flavor of the honey. Each bee acquires a specific purpose during the approximately 45-day duration of the honey-making process, and in this approach, teamwork ensures the process's proper development and, as a result, the production of high-quality honey. In Uganda, honey is harvested between March to June and August to October. One hive can produce 25 kilograms or more in a good season. However, an average hive would be around 11 kilograms surplus. Bees fly about 55,000 miles to make just 1 pound of honey. That's 2.2 times around the world. The average worker bee will only make around 1 to 12 of a teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. It will take 1,100 bees to make 1 kilogram of honey, and they would have to visit 4 million flowers. But the question is, where do bees live? Just like all living things require shelter for them to live a good life, in this part we are going to be looking at different beehives, how they are made, and the different tools needed at the bee farm. We have an expert, Mr. George, who is going to be taking us through this whole process. Just like I told you, we have an expert, Mr. George, who is an expert in beekeeping. He's going to be taking us through the process of making the beehives. So, Mr. George, I'm so glad to meet you.
Glad to meet you too.
Yeah, so first of all, tell us, I'll first start from like the different types of beehives.
Yeah, here at Bee House, we do different types of beehives. And what you're seeing here is the KTB hive, and below it is actually the Langstroth hive. This is the Kenya top bar hive, and the Kenya top bar hive usually has top bars, like you can see. And these top bars are the ones that hold the honeycomb. Each top bar holds a honeycomb. So in this hive, usually the harvest is 2 times. As you can see, this is the entrance. This is where the bees enter from. And it also has a cover, like you've seen. And then we also have the lower hive. This one, that's the Langstroth hive. And the Langstroth hive has 2 chambers. The upper box, which is the honey chamber or the brood box, and the lower box is actually the brood box. And in between the brood box and the honey box, there is usually a mesh, or what we call the queen excluder. Now, the brood chamber is where the queen lays eggs, and it is actually the multiplication box. The queen lays eggs, and more of the multiplication of bees is. And then from the brood box, we have a queen excluder. Now, this wire mesh you see here restricts the queen in going to this box, which is the honey box. So they don't want the queen to lay eggs up here, because this is simply a box for honey only. So the queen is restricted to only down. Now, the advantage of this hive is that since the honey is separated from the young ones, it actually encourages people to be harvesting more honey compared to other hives. So as you see, each box has frames. So the honey box, this frame would be full of what? Honey only. And the way we extract this hive is we have to use a centrifuge extractor. Now, the centrifuge extractor will extract honey without destroying the honeycomb. That's why we put these wires to hold the comb firmly. As you extract, the comb is not destroyed. So that makes someone harvest more times compared to the other types of hives. So in this hive, you harvest 3 or 4 times. So that is the advantage. But mainly, the concentration is on honey and not wax. So the other hives, you can harvest wax, honey, but in this one, you only concentrate on harvesting more honey. So that is the advantage. Usually, you harvest between 10 to 15 kilos per harvest. So that will be times 3 times a year. So you are likely to get between 30 to 45 kilos.
Which one works for someone, for small-scale farmer?
Compared to the prices, of course, this one is a bit expensive. It's 200,000 compared to the KTB, which is 110,000.
Which one favors rearing from home?
Now, for starters, it is easier to start with the Kenya top bar hive as compared to the Langstroth hive. But if you are going to put this on large scale, it would require someone who is going to invest in some good sums of money, like between 15 and above, 15 million and above. Whereas the KTB, even if you started with the 50 hives, you are looking at around 55. You are looking at 5,500,000. That is for around 50 hives.
What is the specific way of taking care of these beehives?
Now, the best way of taking care of these hives is to put them on stands, metallic stands. You can easily control the pests, and it is easier to work with them when they are a little closer to each other than hanging one on one end and then you move another 200 meters, you hang another one. That one only helps you to attract the bees. But as long as the bees have entered, it's better when you put them in one confinement.
How safe are the bees when they're inside there? Because we have this effect of the sun, the rain.
Now they are very safe. As you can see, the cover will protect the bees, water from entering the bees, and also the cover is made in a way that it will control the heat, so the heat does not go direct into the hive. So they are controlled because of the what? Of this cover.
Yeah. Yes. When we talk about honey production, which one produces more? Like,
of course, definitely it's this Langstroth who produce more honey compared to the KTB hive.
And how, like, the capacity of bees that can be?
Usually, if it's a very strong colony, you may have up to between 50 to 60,000 bees in one hive, but one queen. Yes. And the drones are usually few. below 500.
When you come to the market, how much you sell like one? How much can a farmer get?
Do you mean the hive?
Yeah, the hives.
Yeah, one hive will cost 200,000. That is the Langstroth, and one KTB will cost around 100, between 100 to 110.
Yes, there are some farmers who are still like stuck in the other traditional ways of keeping bees. They put like they make them be on trees, in some whatever. So tell them the difference between
the
this
difference
and
between the modern hives and
traditional.
working with the modern hives and the traditional, and also the setup.
Yeah.
The traditional ways of working with bees is not commercial. Because people who concentrate on traditional hives, usually the traditional hives don't last long. But also separating one hive here to the other one, if you have 1,000 hives, or if you have 500 hives, it may be difficult for you to harvest in a short period of time. But in the modern setup, you find 100 hives can fit in 1 acre, and then it will take a short period of time to harvest. But also inspecting, controlling pests becomes very easy because it's in a it's in a smaller place.
Mr. George has explained to us the different types of beehives and how they are constructed and their differences. And now we have different types of equipment also that are used at the bee farm. We have a smoker here, and Mr. George is going to explain to us how to make a smoker. This uses. Yes, Mr. George, tell us more about this smoker.
Yeah, the smoker, we start by making the pump, which is this. So we actually get 2 pieces of timber and drill these holes. These holes actually we put in the nuts, and from there we connect the spring, which you can see here. So this spring will help to actually connect the 2 pieces of wood, which will actually help us to do the pump, which you can see here. And now this pump is connected to, is actually connected to this head here, as you can see. And now this is where we put the hot charcoal and put the smoker fuel. And then this pump will actually help us to smoke, so that smoke can come out. And then when you smoke the bees will come down. Or they actually, sometimes they get confused and fail to communicate to one another. So that can help you to access what you want in the hive without getting a lot of disturbances.
So show us how do you come up with this pump?
You can see we get 2 materials. We get the hard material here, which is the canvas, and then we also get the leather material, which we use to cover on the 2 pieces of timber. As you can see, here is the spring, which will hold the 2 pieces of timber so that it can help to pump. This is closed and then made fine. Then we also add another cloth. We add another cloth here so that it can prevent air from coming out, apart from the main outlet, which is here. So that is how the pump is made.
So tell us, what makes it different from the traditional ones that people use?
This is easy to use because you just place, and then the spring will help the air to come through. With the smoker, you have to put hot charcoal inside. After putting the hot charcoal, you get the smoker fuel. There are different types of smoker fuels. You can use dry cow dung, you can use coffee peelings, you can use the maize combs. You can also use pine leaves. So after putting the pine leaves, then you close the smoker, you start to pump, the smoke will start coming out. So when you are at your hive, you put the smoker at the entrance of the holes of the hive, and then you start smoking the entrances. When you smoke, the bees will run inside, but the smoke will also be entering inside. So they will be forced to be eating some honey. So by the time they come out, they will have they would have calmed down. They will not be as aggressive as you found them. So that is the use of the smoker.
Beehives are opened after the bees have been smoked out using a smoke pump, and honeycombs are pressed by hand. Honey is separated from the wax using pressing machines to produce better quality honey. Honey from a honeycomb is extracted, warmed, strained, and bottled. The approximate price range for Uganda natural honey in 2022 is between $9 and $2 per kilogram, or between 4.08 and $0.91 per pound. The average price for a ton is $9,000 in Uganda and in Kampala. There is high demand for honey for home consumption, pharmaceutical use in making drugs, and in most instances, it has replaced the sugar intake among people with health complications. Some beekeepers salvage the combs to extract wax for making candles, or at times is mixed with maize flour to make ice cream cones. In addition, wax is demanded by cobblers, makers of household textiles, and garments. Let's find out more about honey after a short break. My name is Kwishi Takhaman, and this is FarmSmart. Don't go away.